take attendance, please.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Plotsky and Cunningham are excused this evening. Mr. Bergdorf?
Here.
Feeney?
Here.
Mr. Kuhn is excused. Mayo?
Here.
Peter?
Here.
Ricard?
Present.
And Whalen?
Here.
6 present, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
Motion.
Motion, Peter, second, Bergdorf. All in favor? Aye. All right, we're going to skip ahead to number 12. Commissioner Ziegler here.
Yeah.
Amending resolution number 113 for 2021 as amended by resolution number 458 for 2021 regarding prevention education.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good evening.
Good evening. It was very exciting coming into the building tonight. Thank goodness we weren't having anything more alarming than our unfortunate had. I just want to take this opportunity to introduce my deputy, Amanda Winkle, to Law Committee so that she can have an understanding of the process. So thank you so much for having us tonight. So the first request is we are in the 5th year of our second 5-year award from Department of Health. And they are applying to the CDC for additional funding for another 5-year cycle. But that application has not yet been released. That will be released this summer, and then they will have to put together an RFP. Since the current funding will end on January 31st, 2024, they are extending us 9 months so that our work is uninterrupted, so that we can apply for the additional, the 3rd cycle to continue our Safer Bars work and our Healthy Nightlife and Healthy Schools. So we're very excited about the extension. It just allows our work to be seamless. I'm very happy that New York is really a front runner when it comes to this type of work. It's really exciting. It's around community mobilization. So it is an extension, a 9-month extension of our current award.
Any questions? And Bo, a question?
No, if there are no questions, Mr. Chairman, I make the motion to move this.
Motion, Mr. Peter, second, Bergdorf. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, number 13, amending the 2023 Crime Victim and Sexual Violence Center budget staff adjustments.
Thank you. This is the newly ratified or newly finalized contract between CSCA Mental Health and the county. And it would require a 2% increase for 2022, a 2% increase for 2023, and some additional incentive that was involved in the contract.
Any questions?
Motion.
Peter, motion. Second, Mr. Bergdorf. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your
Thanks for
time.
coming down. All right, now we're going to go to item number 14. Judge Harris? Good evening.
Good evening.
14 is amending resolution number 151 for 2019 regarding the statewide expansion of the Harrell hiring settlement.
The bulk of our financing comes through the Office of Indigent Legal Services. We had a 5-year payout through Harrell Herring statewide expansion. What we're asking is approval of a 1-year, no-cost extension of that payout that would provide to the 3 indigent service agencies in the county, public defender, conflict defender, and assigned counsel plan, again, the bulk of their funding for 1 additional year. Again, this is no cost to the county.
Okay. Any questions? Can I get a motion?
Motion. Second.
Mr. Ricard, second, Mr. Peter. All in favor? Aye.
Can we jump to 16 ahead of 15?
Sure. Yep. Amending resolution number 74 for 2022 regarding the 3rd council at first appearance grant.
Right. This is counsel at first appearance. This provides legal representation for all off-hour arrangements of first appearances before a judge in Albany County. It has been very successful in protecting individual rights and to help keep people out of custody because they have an attorney representing them at the arraignment. So middle of the night arraignments, you now have an attorney. This would extend CAFA, Counsel at First Appearance 3, to allow the funding for it to be fully utilized. It would end December 31 of 24. So it's a 2-year extension that we're requesting for CAFA 3.
Any questions? Mr. Bergdorf?
I have an informational question. I know, our judges are on call middle of the night. There's always an on-call judge. So the police arrest somebody, they bring them in. Sometimes the judge comes in, sometimes there have been instances, I think, where the police have actually brought people to the judge to be arraigned. How does it work that, at what point in time does counsel get called?
Counsel gets called either by the arresting agency or by the court, the judge or court staff, depending on what court it is, and they wait for a very short period of time for the attorney on call. We have teams of 4 attorneys. They're on call 24/7 for 1 week at a time, and it's a team approach. So one of the 4 attorneys, and they communicate among and between themselves, will appear in a manner that the judge determines. It may be that we attempt to have in-person appearances on all arraignments. Sometimes the judge will be remote, but the attorney and the in-custody defendant are appearing together as much as possible. And that has resulted in substantial benefit to the people getting arraigned.
I would assume so.
So,
So generally, they wait until the judge comes in before they call?
Depending on the police agency.
Okay, so it's the agency that would actually make the call if the person asks for an attorney?
Depends on the agency.
Oh, okay.
It depends on the agency and the court. Some courts want to do it themselves. Some courts will have, like the state police may do it themselves, depending on what court they're going to. And in some of the courts, like Albany and Colony, they will hold a defendant until the morning, so they'll do the arraignments within 7 hours. So, and then the attorneys appear in person.
So the 3
in the
a.m.
court.
arraignment doesn't happen as much?
Well, it happens very often, but not in those 2 courts. So that is 16. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you for
Any
the
other
question.
questions?
I move it, Mr. Chairman.
Motion, Peter, Mr. Ricard, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So what do you want to do now, 15 or 17?
15.
Okay, go ahead,
So
15.
16 took us to the end of 24, and council at first appearance 4 would start on January 1 of 25.
So this is authorizing an agreement with New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services regarding the 4th counsel at first appearance grant.
That's correct, and it's a 3-year grant of $750,000.
Okay, any questions on this one? Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Ricard, second? Second? Anybody? Mr. Mayo? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, 17.
Agenda item 17 is a aid to a defense grant of $42,738 beginning April 1 of 23. It's a no county cost. There's no match by the county, and this goes to pay portions of 4 felony level attorney salaries.
Any
So
questions on this one?
DCJS grant from the state.
I make a motion for no
Motion,
questions.
Mr. Peter, second. Mr. Ricard, all in favor? Aye. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, items 2, 3, and 4 are tabled at the request of sponsor.
Number 5, Mr. Purley, establishing the USA 250 Commission for the celebration of the 250th year following the American Revolution and independence of the United States.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This measure brings Albany County in line with any number of communities across the state and the nation that have organized commissions to coordinate the observance of the semi-quincentennial of the American Revolution. That's a long way of saying the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution. I think, I certainly long believed that our heritage here in Albany County is an underappreciated element of life here in the Capital District, and it's certainly an underutilized asset to our tourism and economic development efforts. I noted there's a guide that the National Commission has put out as a guide for observances for local groups, and it said, and I paraphrase, most cities and counties do not have a historic structure directly associated with the American Revolution, nor do they have a revolutionary battlefield in their backyard. But of course, Albany County does, and we have it in abundance. And happily, those sites are spread in sort of politically pleasing fashion across the county. The most prominent being in the South End, with the home of General Schuyler, in Arbor Hill, the home of General Tenbrook, and our primary battle site in Chairman Leader's district, the Battle of the Normanskill, where a group of Continental troops dispersed a gathering of Tories who were organizing to meet up with Burgoyne. And significantly, that Battle of Normanskill was engaged in by primarily African-American troops from Rhode Island. And it happened right there at the Vale of Towsenta in Guilderland. So there's a lot to work with here, Mr. Chairman. Originally, this was introduced just primarily as a measure to work with schools and local historical societies. Working with the County Executive's Office, it's been amended to incorporate more of the economic development opportunities, working directly with Discover Albany. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to embrace our heritage, celebrate our heritage, and promote that to the larger world.
And we had a discussion before the meeting, and you've agreed, I'm going to go on as co-sponsor of this, to add a pick on the commission for the Legislative Black Caucus chairman.
That's fine.
So we'll increase the commission to 9. And you're okay with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Mr. Peter?
Mr. Chairman, I'd also like to go on this as well, and I'd make a motion to move this.
I'd like to be a sponsor.
I like to want it to,
You want
I'd like
Mr.
to
Card?
vote it too.
Everybody want to
I'm
go
not
on
on the
this?
committee.
Who's here?
You can still go on.
All right.
Yeah,
All
go
right.
ahead, yeah.
Hey,
Go on.
got it? You want to say something, Carolyn?
Yes, you just educated me. And so if you educated me, I'm sure there's others who don't know what I know. So I really think it's a real opportunity to educate the greater community of just the contributions that everybody has made in this community and around this country. So I appreciate you sharing the details that you just put out. So I look forward to whatever educational tools you'll be using to educate the
Can you
community.
make the motion?
I did.
All right, go ahead. Second?
Second.
Did you second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
What a historian.
Oh, yeah.
You read the Altamont Enterprise, you
Oh.
can't believe it.
Nobody knows more about trees.
They don't vote, though.
Well, if they did, you'd be in good shape. All right, number 6. Establishing a voter rights disclosure policy for all polling places managed by the Albany County Board of Elections.
Sure.
Mr. Peter?
Might not hang out the printed version?
Yep.
Sorry. So we had temporarily tabled this just to give time for individual members as well as Board of Elections commissioners a chance to comment on that. We didn't receive many comments, but we incorporated what we could. Again, as Mr. Bergdorf knows, we pointed out, this is merely it's a request for the Board of Elections to consider this, to submit it to the state for a change. None of these points are very controversial. The first part is what exists, by the way. That's not a change. What we are basically providing is the second page of FAQs that are typical questions that voters who might be confused at. There's also a QR code that basically uploaded by the board to get further information, take people to the Board of Elections site so they can look up where they're voting, things of that nature. It's the questions that people call the board for all the time. I do understand this is a recommendation. I do believe this is a pretty bipartisan issue. There's no leading questions. These are literally the top calls that voters who get frustrated at the poll. We're also requiring that instead of it being sort of vague, that this has to be visible, it has to be at every entrance and exit of the polling site. Often it has to be at the polling site. Sometimes it's behind the book, sometimes it's with the poll inspectors. This is actually saying it has to be here, it can be updated, here's the questions, here's a QR code that takes you to additional information, just because sometimes the Bill of Rights is accurate, it doesn't always explain everything. So that's it.
Any questions?
I spoke to our election commissioner yesterday, and she said while she has not gone through this line by line, obviously it's a two-step process. The two commissioners will decide what they're comfortable with, and then they have to seek approval from the State Board of Elections. So based on that, I have no objection to this going at this time.
Thank you very much, and I think, you know, if they have objections or some change in language, or they think of a question that comes up more frequently, I think as long as they're communicated with it, if it's the intent, no big issue.
Anything else?
I have a question.
Yeah, Mr. Grimm?
Do we have any control? I think 10 days in local elections is kind of crazy, because I was talking to one person, they said once an hour somebody comes in. That's strictly state law, Matt. We can't change that, because I don't see the benefit of so many days when there's, on a local election, when there isn't that much.
So 10 days to what, I'm sorry?
The state, I think it's a state law that says, it allows how many early day voting you have to have.
Oh, yeah, that's completely
But-
a state.
Okay. There's no, we have no flexibility there?
I don't believe so. I
None whatsoever, it's entirely preempted.
Yeah,
Does it count for primaries as well?
I
I thought it did.
I think it does,
Yeah.
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 That means you have to
Yeah.
open
Yeah.
I believe it's purely state law. I don't think we have
one
any chance.
primary in Colony, and you've got to open.
I'm with you.
I mean, you know, you could have 4 people vote a whole day. I mean, it's
I'm with you on
really,
that.
yeah, especially a primary, minor party primary, it's really kind of nuts.
Yeah, in Gilliland, they reduced the polling places, like 4
Yeah,
places.
They do
Yeah.
reduce
Yeah,
polling.
yeah, they can do that.
Well, in our case, it's one legislative district, so there, you know, there are 4 EDs.
Yeah, we got a town.
But that's,
So 4 spots. Yeah.
but that's an example of having some flexibility
Right.
Yeah,
to limit the number of things, yeah.
and now I think a good idea,
Yeah.
yeah, save money.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anything else? Can we get a motion? Ms. Bergdorf, can I get a second? Mr. Ricard, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. On to number 7. Local Law C, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, amending local law number 2 for 1975 as amended, the Albany County Senior Citizens Tax Exemption Law. Carolyn?
Well, we just voted this out of committee, for the Elder Care Committee. This is going to provide some tax relief for elders in Albany County, and I hope that you all will support that as well.
Any questions?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Mr. Ricard, second, Mr. Peter. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 8, public hearing for local law D, a local law enacting a limited exemption from county real property taxes for properties located within the town of Gilliland, which are subject to qualified conservation easement agreements. This is just the public hearing resolution. This was done previously in the town of Bethlehem, I think, years ago. And this would not impact county taxpayers, only Gilliland taxpayers.
Yes,
Right.
there's an add-back provision, so Guilderland doesn't pay any less than they would have paid otherwise.
Right. So if these easements are granted, it gets made up.
Mhm.
But this is just a public hearing resolution.
I make a motion to move this.
Move this, second. Mr. Ricard, all in favor?
Aye.
And then item 10 is table pending public hearing.
And what
And
about?
that, I'm sorry, 9 and 11 are also tabled at the request of sponsor.
Hang on a second, just, I'd like to say something about that. I was prepared to make some comments on local law E, and I want to make sure that when it comes back to committee, that there is adequate time for a full discussion of the provisions of Article E. And I know we get pressed sometimes, and we say, well, geez, you know, we've spent 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or whatever. And I'd like to make sure that everybody totally understands what this law is. So I was prepared to do some of that tonight, which will.
And there's discussions going on, and that's why Mr. Doyle, agreed to table it. And even the public hearing resolution took it.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
gonna, we have
I
plenty of
understand
time to chime in.
But I'd like to make sure that we have a full discussion even before the public hearing goes out, so we know what is going for people to comment on. Because there are an awful lot of people watching this whose businesses depend on it.
Okay? Very fair. Anything else?
That's all.
That's it. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Motion. Mr. Carr, Mr. Peter, all in favor? Aye. Good night.